can make one here. So do you want to start off, or do you want me to go ahead and type and explain?
If you want to go ahead and start.
Okay. So let's see. What do we know about our arguments? Punctuation, spaces, and capitalization should remain intact. So we have to maintain everything except for the actual values. All right. So the first thing that I would do is do something like var letter case equals, and we'll make an array, and the first element in the array we'll just call a dot char code at 0. The second one will be our uppercase A and a char code at 0. Preferably not with an underscore. Alright. And then we'll just make another one called var which case. And we can leave it undefined because we're going to define it later. So now let's go down. So we can just do a simple test using some regex. So if it's not a letter, we need to actually go over our string, so we'll actually leave that there for now. So return string dot split dot map function letter. Okay. Now we have something to test it against. So if it's not a letter, or if letter isn't A through Z or capital A through Z, then we'll just return the letter. Oh, and I didn't close my conditional.
We gotta add capital A through Z to our regex.
No, we don't. Not with the I. The I means ignore case.
Oh, yep. Didn't see that.
So we have that, right? And then we can do some simple modulo operation to keep it within range. So if you're trying to keep a number within a range, or if the easiest way to do it is determine the length of your range and use that as your modulo. So we want the letters to equal, for A to equal 0 and Z to equal 25. That gives us a range of length 26. So we're going to use modulo 26. That'll make sure anything, if it's 25 plus 1, it wraps back around to 0 and becomes A. So Z would become A, you know, and if for a plus 1, if it was plus 5, it would wrap around and become, what, D? So, so now, we know that we should be operating on only the letters themselves. So if A to Z dot test letter and else, and I'll let you fill those out.
Is it char code?
Yeah, it's char code at
0.
Yeah, 0 because we only have one element. Now remember, before you modulo 26, you're going to need to put the range or subtract it so the letter is in the correct range. And
so it's going to be subtracting it from this.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, yeah. So just as a matter of style, this is why I did the which case. So, and actually we could do this as a ternary. So you could do something like this: which case equals, A to Z, right? Close that out. Dot test letter. Then it's uppercase, so it'd be 1, otherwise 0. And now you can just do a you can get rid of the if else here and just return the but now remember, we want to add the number to rotate it. Do it before your modulo, because adding is going to affect it, and then we still want to keep it within our range, right?
Yep.
And then
should probably put these in parentheses, because isn't it going to evaluate modulo 26 first?
I think addition and modulo are the same order of precedence, so I think it would evaluate left to right in this situation. But I do agree, it's always better to use parentheses to highlight what you're intending for, which operation you want to happen first. And then we're missing one other thing. Well, we're missing two things, but the one. So go ahead and run that and see what it does with the.
First, we need to get this back into a string. We need to return these to their original Unicode values and then join them as a string.
Right. So there's a string method itself that will create you a new string, and it is called. Looks like I moved it. So okay, so you're joining it. That's good. So you can join it. All right. So up here, there's a method called string from char code. All right, and then we'll open that, and we will close it back there. Yep. Well, that's not at all what we wanted, right? So we're missing one other key step in this. So we subtracted letter case to drop it down so that either way it would be from 0 to 25. Now we need to add that back in. And remember, we need to use our which case in here now. So at the end of this, add your, well, it needs to be inside the string from, yeah. So add letter case, which case back in. Does it make sense to you why we have to add it back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just putting a parenthesis there. So segregate those.
All right. So before you submit that, let me take questions from Twitch. I'm just asking chat right now what they want me to explain a little more in depth.
Now, I haven't actually used the map function before. That's just building a new array, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, map builds a new array. It won't modify your original array. Okay. People seem to be okay in chat, so you can probably submit that and go on.
Okay. And one thing that we've noticed on CoderByte is sometimes when you click Next Challenge, it skips to different areas in the challenges.
Oh yeah, it takes me into the hard challenges.
Want to do letter count next, or?
Yeah, let's do letter count.
Okay.
All right, so it says using the JavaScript language, have the function letter count take the string parameter being passed and return the first word with the greatest number of repeated letters. For example, today is the greatest day. I should return greatest because it has two E's, and it comes before ever, which also has two E's. If there are no words with repeating letters, return -1. Words will be separated by spaces. So that words will be separated by spaces is pretty key. That if you know something about the format of the data you're going to receive, then you can manipulate it based off that format. So the first thing that we should probably do is break the whole sentence up into its individual words. And we're using a space as an argument to split instead of the empty string because we want it to separate on spaces.
And then I believe our next step would be to go ahead and sort these by length, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, we don't need to sort them by length because we're just sorting based on repeated characters, right? So the length of the word should have nothing to do with, I mean, you know, the letter I has two repeating characters and has more repeating characters than what words does. So we need to go through and tally up the number of repeated characters, right?
Yep. I'm just trying to think of a JavaScript function that would do that so we wouldn't have to write a for loop.
Well, so how could we tell? I mean, any JavaScript function is going to really just give us a loop of some sort, but it's going to be the callback function we provide to it that's going to do the work, right?
Right. So would this be another application of the map function? So like if we compare each element to, well, if we use the map, we can't compare it to the next element though, right?
Yeah, because map gives you the current one.
Because I thought we ran into a problem similar to this the last time. We were looking for a function that was similar to map that took.
Yeah, but we couldn't find one.
Yeah.
Right. So, do you remember our solution from last time?
No, I don't remember exactly what we did.
Um, so we used the we abused reduce.
Reduce. Okay.
And then we need to go through and we need to first look at the value of each letter, right? Do you want me to type?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
I was gonna start
yeah,
out
I'm kind of waiting. I'm kind of waiting for you. So go ahead.
So, all right. For were we going to use reduce on the words array? I thought we were going to use it on each individual. Words I. Was it something like this? This doesn't look right to me.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. So, remember we created another array to hold values?
Characters. Okay.
Well, I don't. What are you doing a comparison, or what are you doing a conditional check against? So, because really, okay, think about what data we have. We have letters, and we have really not a whole lot else yet. So we need to give ourselves more data.
Right. I was going to start another loop inside of here and iterate over the letters in the current word.
Okay. I don't know. You can. I don't. I don't think we need to do that, but go for it.
Okay. Just trying to make this a little more readable.
Yeah, no worries.
If word. Okay, I think this is actually going to be this is going to need to be moved into here, right?
Well, I'm kind of not tracking where you're going, because okay, so my idea on this is create the array with the words, how many ever words there are, right? And then create basically an array of an arrays where each array contains an array of all its letters, right? once you have that, then you can iterate through the comparing the letters, and if the one is equal to the next, if the first letter is equal to the next letter, then you have a repeated letter, and the only way that works is if you sort them.
Yeah, I feel like we don't even need a second array here. We really only care about which one of these specific words has the largest number of repeating characters. I mean, it seems like we just have an integer value here, one for the index and one for the largest count.
Right.
Um,
So scroll up just a second so that I can see the top. Okay.
I was thinking var largest index var highest count, like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end here, at the bottom, ultimately we're going to be returning words largest index. And instead of using arrays, we're going to have var count 0, count plus plus, and then once we complete this inner loop, after we iterate over the characters, if count is greater than highest count, count, oops, what did I do here? Largest index equals I.
Okay.
We still have to account for the -1. So if highest count is 0, it's greater than 0, we return this, otherwise -1.
Okay. Are there any more test cases we can?
Okay, so this is returning -1.
So, right, there's one thing you need to do first before you compare the letters. All right, why does hello return? Do you think? Like, do you notice a pattern in the word?
Oh yeah, the L's are together. We need to sort the characters in these words.
Good. That's why I was saying we to.
'Cause I'm only doing this adjacently.
Yeah. Now you could do it. You could do it to where you could split that and then sort it. But then remember, okay, so there you go, yeah, because you're using. Yep. And you can sort. You can use sort without one because it's going to sort them in lexicographic order. So good.
Cool. So that works. I wouldn't expect this to change, but
Well, we would hope not. So there we go.
so that was kind of my thought process. Did you have maybe a less complex?
No, actually, what I was going to do is just put another array up here, but you're creating it on the fly. I was just gonna make another array that contained subarrays of each word.
Okay,
So, good solution.
thanks. I mean, I guess kind of the strategy that I was going for is like trying to keep this as simple as possible. Like at first, I was thinking about pushing characters onto an array, but reading over the problem again, we really don't care about the letters themselves. We only care about the counts. So I
Yeah.
just went with integers.
Yeah, that's fine. And now, if we did have to keep track of what letter it was, um, honestly, the easiest way I see doing that would be an object. So, but is there a way that we can make this? Oh, you know what? No, we can't. Um, so NetGen CEO, unfortunately, because of the way CoderByte is, um, they only give you a certain amount of space. I don't know. We could try zooming out maybe, um, but you can see it. It's still they only allow a certain amount of pixels, and then you have to scroll in it. I'm sorry.
Was somebody not able to see all of our code?
They said it's a little hard to follow when you scroll up and down. Can you open it up so the whole code block is visible at once? You know what we can do though is we can do some Control A, Control C action. And do you have what do you got? What do you got on your computer? Let's see. You got Windows 8. That's what you got.
Did you want me to open a certain program?
Do you have like TextMate or something?
Microsoft Word,
Do you have TextMate or something?
TextMate. I don't have a TextMate. Is that a Mac app? I got
Oh
Microsoft
crap!
Word.
It might be a Mac app. Do you have Notepad++?
Yeah,
Okay. So and then we'll paste this just so he can.
I've still got this in my clipboard.
I know I copied it. It's on my clipboard. There. And the language, we'll just call that JavaScript.
Let me change this to a darker.
Monakai or something. Or Solarized is a good one. Solarized is awesome. Yeah. And then, well, Solarized doesn't come out very well on yours. Alright. So there's the solution code block. So taking the word or splitting the string on its spaces to get the words, setting up some counter variables, and then looping through, breaking each word up into its constituent letters, and then just comparing each letter against the next letter. And it's imperative that we sort on that so we know that the same letters are going to be right next to each other. And then it's a matter of doing some logic to see if we have a next highest count, assigning that, and then at the end we'll just return it if it's greater than 0. Otherwise, it didn't have any repeating letters, and returning -1 as this spec says. So that's a solution right there. All right, let's move on.
Okay. Simple mode. I'm just trying to align this so we get everything.
So, for example, if array contains 10, 4, 5, 2, 4, the output should be 4. If there is more than one mode, return the one that appeared in the array first. And if there's no mode, return 1. This is almost the exact same thing as the last challenge. So look for patterns, guys. Look for patterns in the problems and in code. Um, so if he were to back out and copy the code from the last solution and paste it in here, it would we could remove some stuff that we don't need that was letter specific and literally do the same thing, which is we can sort these and then we can compare each one against each other, create a group.
Yeah. This is actually going to be a lot simpler because instead of having a nested loop, we're just going to have one simple loop after we sort them.
Yeah, so we're going to need two variables. We're going to need count and then a variable that actually signifies the number. So like, mode num would be a decent variable name.
Mode. Would we want the index? Because we can just return it from the array.
I don't even think you need to at that point. I mean, you can just actually put the number in there.
And actually, before we even get down here,
Yep. Okay, so real quick, you can keep typing, but so a real quick explanation about this return a minus b. If you read the documentation on the sort function, if you do not provide it a callback function, it will sort them according to their Unicode value. So for numbers, we have to provide a callback function. And if the number is negative, it means a was smaller than b. If the number is positive, it means a was bigger than b. And if the number is 0, it means a equaled b, and no position change will occur between those two elements. We can shorthand that instead of doing an if, an else if, and then finally an else statement by just returning a minus b. If a is smaller than b, we'll return negative. If if a is larger than b, it's going to be positive. If they're the same, it'll return 0.
Actually, we're going to need another.
What?
I was thinking we're going to need another highest variable here, because how do we know whether this count is greater than the count that we got for the last mode?
True, true.
So, in that case, count greater than highest count. Highest count. Count mode num equals ri.
Well, yep. Okay, so it's important here because we're using a counting variable here. Like I knew when I was new to programming, I would constantly forget to reset some kind of state variable to 0. If you forget to reset that, you'll get the wrong answer all the time. I wouldn't even yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that's all right. I was just gonna say rather than have all that, you could actually do num equals whatever. But yeah, that's right. And we should now remember we need to account for -1. So if there's no mode.
Well, okay, we need a different value to initialize this with.
Why?
Because what if the mode is 0?
Okay. What if the mode is 0? Then that means it's false in a true false scenario, right? In a conditional check, 0 is false and any other number is true. So you can return mode num. So if mode num was 0, then we would return -1, right? Otherwise, just return mode num. Oh, it's because it's being sorted. We're sorting that? Array equals array sort, yeah.
But even if it was sorting it, I would expect 2, not -1.
Yeah. So actually, we shouldn't even, well, they've got to be sorted. They've got to be grouped together.
Does sort modify the original array?
Yeah, I think yeah, it sorts it in place. Yep.
So yeah. Let's see, length -1, I++. If the element is equal to the element next to it, increment the count.
Yep.
So we keep doing that until we hit a different number. If the count is greater than the highest count.
Oh, because it's returning, yeah, it's, so it was array I, so array I in that particular case should be 5. So modnum, if return modnum, oh, so modnum is actually true at that point. So we should return modnum, otherwise -1. So, but now we need to not sort it. And then keep track of, but that's
going to break this down here.
Yep. So what I would do, right, is something like this. All right. So let's go ahead and just do so var num count, and we'll call it an empty array, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then in that you can push the well, we might need an object for this.
So okay, so the key being the number itself, and then the value for that property would be the count for that number.
Yeah.
And then we just pull the one with the highest.
Right. And we need to keep track of where it appeared.
Yeah, because like in this example in the description, the 5 should be returned because it appeared first.
Exactly. So we can do that. It's very easy.
Where's my mouse? Okay. Okay. So instead of an array, have an object.
Oh, you know what? Actually, we don't need to keep track of where it was in the array, because if you push them in order, right, and you sort them based off their frequency, by pushing them in order, if 2 were the same, the first one is still going to be at a lower index. So you can just return the lowest index out of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. We need to get rid of this sorting here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then we can just get rid of that logic, because, Well, keep it on the clipboard. We might want it for later. Yeah. Okay. So, I don't think we need array length -1 anymore.
Nope.
So yeah, numCount.push.
.push.
Yeah,
Can we
because
do it with objects?
well, it's an array. We want an array of objects, right?
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted one. Okay, that makes sense. So but we need to check if it already exists.
Right. Well, you can do it. You can do it with an array, or you can do it with one overall object, whichever method you want to do.
I think doing an overall object is going to be easier.
Okay. So then you can just do numCount. Yep.
Equals
Test is test if it exists.
yeah. Count I.
Well, I wouldn't do that because we can just assign it right there, right? So instead of using the or, which is essentially it's making numCount I a conditional if it exists, then if it does exist, then add on the new.
Because this is going to return undefined.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. 0.
Well, okay. Yep. And then let's return that and just make sure we're getting what we expect. So we should see 522211 or so yeah 0010203040.
Yep, I know what I did wrong. I didn't ARRI.
Yep.
So that's still wrong.
Right, because they're otherwise
If it exists. Oh. +1.
so what
I shouldn't have to do this, but I just want to see if that makes a difference. Yep. Oh, yeah, I get it now, because we're storing 0 in there, and this is evaluating to false.
yes, exactly. We ran into that the last time we did this on the other challenge we did, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So we had to set this to 1.
We set it to 1, and then we subtracted 1 from all of them.
Yep.
At the end.
Yep.
Do you want to do that again, or do you want to just leave undefined in there?
Let's leave undefined because it might be a little more clear to the viewers. So, okay. So, what happened here is what this is saying is this equals, and we're actually doing a conditional check. If this exists, then we are just incrementing its value by 1, otherwise setting it to 0. Without that does not equal undefined. What that is an implicit check. That value is always going to return to 0 because it was assigned 0 if it didn't exist. If it's 0, 0 is also false in programming, so it was defaulting back and giving itself a value of 0. So we could have added 1 and then +1 and it would have worked, and we would have subtracted 1 later from all of the values, or we can just do it does not equal undefined, because then it's actually explicitly checking 0 is type of number. It is not type of undefined.
Not to mention that by having an explicit check for undefined in here, the overall algorithm is going to be less computationally expensive because we don't have to have a loop at the bottom to subtract 1 from each of these that we've initialized.
Alright, so keep hammering down. We can see what we have now.
Okay, now we just have to sort these by the frequency.
Right, so we can do a for obj in, right?
Yep, for prop and obj. Okay. Well, how is this going to help us?
Okay, so do me a favor. Well, you'll see how it'll help us, or how it'll. Okay, let me type something here. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, prop.
Oh, num count.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Now, so how do you think that can help us?
Well, prop gives us the index, and num count prop gives us the value.
So
I mean, if we wanted to hand roll our own sorting algorithm, then this would help us.
Well, we don't even need to sort, because they're now in there in the order in which they appeared. So let's get rid of that one and take some fresh data and look at it. Okay. So if we put this in here, right, run the code. Well, okay, let's get rid of the return statement and just let it loop for fun. Why did that sort? You might need to add an index on there too. Instead of doing this, right? I'll let you finish the rest.
Okay. So what you're doing is with this, you want to append it to the object using this function then?
Well, okay. So what I'm saying is, no, leave that there, because that's what number index is going to be pushed into. Okay, so you can actually just do no, don't return anything out of number index. No, okay. So now, and this, I would put it as an array. Because now we have named properties we can access. Are you tracking? Okay.
Yeah.
essentially we can check to see if some object exists that we can get, right? And if the object doesn't exist, create it. Otherwise, just increase its frequency by 1.
But with an array, we need to know where this is at. We need to know where that number is that we're going to be updating. Should this still be an object? Because if we do that,
you can do an object of object. Sure, it can be an object. Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I wasn't following where you were going with the array.
Well, because I was just thinking you can put it in based on the value of the array.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to change this. Shouldn't have to change anything else here.
Yeah, and you might want to put its index. Well, actually, you don't need to put it there. It's all going to go there in the new one. You're right. It's good. And you can just create a new... No. You're going to create a new one. Create a new object.
That's what I was going to do.
Okay, so why don't you just use the oh, okay, alright, good.
So what you call it, number index? So it's value, frequency, index.
And set the frequency to, well, you can leave it at 0, sure. Alright, so let's return that and see if we're pushing it in correctly.
2 is value 2, frequency 0, index 3. Well, that should be 1. Right?
Why?
No, because it only occurred once, so we don't care if it's 0. 4 occurs twice, so we have frequency of 1. Frequency of 0, index 2.
So 4 isn't displaying correctly. Or no, frequency 1, yep.
Okay.
And the output, yep.
Okay, we're still getting 2. Frequency of 1. Okay, so yeah, this looping structure that we had that I wrote down here isn't going to work because it's always going to, since we're always comparing it with the highest frequency, it's going to stop at the first one.
Mm.
Um, it's going to stop at the first value in the object that meets that criteria.
So what could you do? So if the frequency is greater than the highest frequency and index is less than some kind of index we're tracking?
Yep, that's what I forgot to do. Actually,
Well, we probably want that lowest index, right?
yeah. Well, okay. Can't have this at 0.
I would just put it at the maximum.
Positive infinity.
Buzz Lightyear would be so proud.
To infinity and beyond. Oh. Wait. That's the return statement we want. This is the one we don't want. 2.
Still gets 2.
So what is our index for 2? So index is 4 for 1. Index is 2 for 2. Oh, we're not actually updating index.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's some built-in library function that would simplify all this, but
Is there?
oh, I'm sure there is. There probably is. So, num prop. Okay, so why don't we just return that num count prop in dot index and see. Okay, so index 2. So index should be set to.
I'd be interested in seeing what the lowest index is. Of course, when it hits 2, it should still be infinity.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I wonder if this infinity is screwing it up. What if I just did something arbitrary like this? Nope.
Well, we still have this return here.
Yeah.
I think it's say to make the highest index the length of the array.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but we're not using an array here.
We're getting past an array. Whatever array is a length.
Oh, yeah.
Or array is an array. Sorry. So for var prop and num count, if the frequency is greater than the highest frequency. Oh, you know why? If frequency, okay. So that's true, and then. Oh, wait. There we go. Let's try that.
Cool.
and it's going to return that because nothing was assigned. So return the, yeah, so probably the same thing here. Let's see. There's no. Oh, okay. It's going to constantly go up. So which one aren't we writing? Or are we writing all of them?
Highest num, highest frequency, and lowest index. I don't think frequency would be throwing it off because I mean you're using greater than or equals
No,
to.
so the reason why it's not is because this greater than or equal to highest frequency, right? So if all the numbers have 0 as the highest frequency, which means they didn't repeat, then this is going to satisfy as true, and then any number that comes later is also going to be evaluated true because its index is going to be higher than the next number's index. So every time this iterates, it's passing in a new number if there's no repeats. So for the two viewers that I have, which one of them I think is myself, um, so adding that in basically ignores anything with a frequency of 0. And then allows us to still compare frequencies and the index.
Couldn't we have accomplished the same thing just by having num count prop frequency greater than highest frequency rather than explicitly ignoring zeros? Because the
Because
highest
we,
frequency is already initialized to 0.
yeah, we could probably rewrite it and do this, and I just
Because I thought we were doing this before.
no. So okay, this has to be greater than or equal to. All right, the reason why. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so we pushed 5 in, we pushed 2 in, and 1, and we get all our stuff, right? Um, so now if we run the code, we get 5 as expected. All right. So what this does first is it checks and it says, okay, the frequency isn't 0. Now I'm moving on to my next statement in the conditional. Okay.
Oh, yep, I get it now. Because if we have two numbers that repeat the same number of times, we still need to select it only if the index is smaller.
Right. So
That's why
because
it's breaking.
yeah, so we have to add this greater than or equal to satisfy this is true in order to start evaluating over into our third conditional, which is the index lower than the lowest index, and then go ahead and write it. So we have to, and it's this last one that we have to reach in order for it to go. Well, they all have to be true for it to write.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to leave this up in case anybody has questions, or?
Uh, I'm not sure who's watching. It doesn't say. It doesn't give me. It just gives me a number for who's watching. Oh, I can see viewer list. Okay, so I have NetGen CEO and Alex Dixon. Any questions? I don't think they do.
Okay.
So that's it. So there's a. I mean, it's an answer. It's a very clean answer, really. I mean, even if it does make something, I don't know if it makes it complex, but I mean, it was kind of nice to show people how we use an object, or how we make an object in JavaScript, how we would use an object to simplify. So an object is great if you need to track a lot of different things about something. Don't be afraid to put it in an object. And you know, we could have actually, considering numbers are objects, I'm wondering if we could do something like this. So let's say array 0 dot frequency, and it's probably going to complain because there's no dot frequency on that, equals 1.
Well, if it doesn't exist, I mean, it should just create it, right?
That's what I would think. Array.0 dot frequency. So with any luck, this will return 1. No, it returns nothing because yeah, there is no frequency on array.
Okay.
So okay, we can get rid of these.
So maybe it's just the built-in objects are read-only.
Well, we could add a prototype. But yeah, I think the built-in objects are read-only, except for you can prototype them and add whatever you want. I wouldn't do that though, because then we're adding a prototype to like number itself. I'll be right back. I'm letting my dogs out.
Okay.
Alright, I'm back. What was the incorrect case? 0, 0, 0, 1, and 2, your output was incorrect? So run it on...
0 is the mode, and at the bottom here, this is what I was alluding to in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
We need to actually account for when the mode is 0. We can't just rely on its falsy value.
Well, then we could do something like this, right? So the frequency wouldn't equal 0 because that would be 3 zeros, and then it would be higher and the index would still be the same. So
I just checked to see if this was updated.
yeah, that's what I was going to say, is just add a no, just add a you could add a Boolean flag, because if it reaches here, then there's some kind of mode, right? So yeah, var mode found equals false.
Actually, yeah, this is a duplicate value, but
Yeah.
okay.
So if mode found, then return highest num. I mean, we can get rid of mode num. Oh, there you go. It's so copy that and then hit redo.
So I don't lose it again.
Yeah. And then we'll push it in, and that should probably do it. Now I'm interested why 445678888 they say doesn't work. Alright, and then let's put in 000123. Okay, and then put in 445678888.
Like that?
Yeah. So why is it returning 4? So that frequency should be, yeah, it should be 2, right?
Yeah.
So it was frequency on 4, 1. So why is that not reaching it? Let's take a look. So let's take a look at 8. Whatever. Alright, so frequency is because the hold on, let me scroll over and see something here. So if it's greater than the highest streak, okay, and then num count prop index lower than the lowest index. Well, I think that's it right there. Well, no, that shouldn't. Oh, yeah, it does. Okay, so what's happening is these are coming true, but the lowest index of 8 is 5, and that is not less than 0. So maybe if we, rather than make this really, really long, we could do 2 ifs. Because then, if it's greater than or equal to, if it is straight greater than it, and less than num count, or and less than the index, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we need to copy that, okay, and then come to the end of it, if, and then we, oh, well, let me finish closing that up. I miss my Mac. I really hate Windows shortcuts, or my lack of knowledge thereof. Okay, and we can come here and we can just put this in. Did I not close something? Oh no, it's lining up. It's just saying all of these should be tabbed over. See this, the frequency should be what catches it, right?
Right.
So the frequency of 4 is 0. Oh. It's because I didn't pull out it up here. Hmm. See, that's okay. It's greater than or equal to. So where do we need to pull this out at? It's either up here or here. So let's think about it. Okay, let's imagine we have 4.